Hello and welcome to Self-Publishing Insiders with Draft to Digital. My name is Mark Leslie Lefebvre. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Draft to Digital, and I'm honored as today's guest host to have fellow Canadian author and industry advocate in the studio with me, Kristina Stanley. Kristina, welcome.
Hi, Mark. Super thrilled to be here. Love the intro music. That's new since last time I was on.
A little poppy stuff just to get it going. Yeah. It's to prevent that deer in the headlights when we're like, are we live? Are we live? No. Yes. It gives us a chance to warm into it. So I kind of like doing the intro and the outro. So Kristina is an author, but also the head of Fictionary.io, which is a company that really helps people with their craft, with creating the best books that they can. But before we get into, we're going to be talking about series and structure. I want to dig into a little bit about Kristina, who is a best-selling author, always on the Draft to Digital bestseller lists for her books for authors. But Kristina got her start and very passionately writes books in a series in fiction. Kristina, can you talk a little bit about your fiction series? And we were just chatting a little bit about the history and how they initially traditionally published and you got the rights back. Can you walk us through a little bit of that?
Sure. So I started writing murder mysteries, and I got very lucky with my first two books. So Descent is the first in the series, and it was shortlisted from Crime Writers of Canada debut novels. And the second one, Blaze, was shortlisted within months with Crime Writers Association in the UK. And
Wow.
so I had two back-to-back very prestigious awards. And with that, I got a publisher. And I was with that publisher for about 5 years. And then I got the rights back and have self-published them on Draft to Digital since then. But they were what I'm going to say influenced me to start Fictionary as a company. And
really?
Yeah. Yep. And I'll just tell you why. So
Yeah,
please. I was working on them, and I had this great big spreadsheet of keeping track of everything. And my husband went, "There's an app for that. Let me find that for you." I'm like, "Okay, that'd be great." And then he came back and went, "There's no app for that." Okay, great. Ooh. So we built Fictionary, which is, we started our company around software, which we have a tool that will help you outline, write, and edit your novel from a structural perspective. So we don't do any copy editing. We don't touch the prose. We're all about what makes a good story. And then from there, we turn that into the Fictionary School for writers and editors, where now we teach all of that, and we use the software as a tool during our teaching.
Oh my God. So now you can say Fictionary, there's an app for that, right? There is an app for getting.
Oh, yeah.
That is fantastic. So when did Fictionary officially launch?
So we launched around, I'm going to say 2018.
Okay.
Software, and we launched the community in 2022.
Okay. And the community is fictionary.circle.so, is that?
Yes, that's correct. So that's our community, and it's for serious writers. So the writers here, we have over 6,400 writers in the community.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And there are people who want to write multiple books a year. They're really serious about writing good, strong books.
Yeah.
And so, our joy is when we see people publish 2-3 books a year,
right.
and they're good books.
Oh, awesome. That is amazing. Now, we do invite people to ask questions, and I might have made a mistake when I jokingly said there's an app for that, because Publish with Andy asked the question. I didn't know Fictionary had an app. Does Fictionary have an app, or was that just Mark?
Yes. No, we do. So Fictionary.co.
I didn't know you had an app either. Andy and I didn't know.
Okay, wow. Let me just qualify that term. It's a desktop app. It's not an app on your phone.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right? Gotcha. It's software. But
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so you have 3 books in the fiction series that we were talking about, the mystery thriller series.
Descent, Blaze, and Avalanche. And then I had another book, Look the Other Way, which I actually took down from being published because we use it as part of our editor certification program, because we wanted to have a manuscript that people actually edit a full manuscript.
Oh, wow. So you offered up the sacrificial lamb script.
Yes, I did. The older version that needed some help. And that's what we use in our classes. And people actually have to edit a full novel and submit that to get certified. And that's how we get our certified editors, who also then become our instructors.
That is amazing. I
Yep.
love I love that we have that, that we have that. So the community you said was 6,400 authors,
Yep.
and obviously, serious authors, not just, "Oh, I might write a book one day."
No,
Not
it's writing a book.
around here. These are people who are very dedicated,
Mhm.
crafting. Uh,
Yes, we give homework, so you have to do your homework.
oh, homework. Oh, man.
Homework on writing. You actually
No
have to
one
write
ever told me I'd
your
have to do homework. Or that I'd have a computer in my pocket or a calculator on me at all times.
You just gotta
But,
do it.
so we wanna get into the topic. So you've written in series, and one of your books that is constantly, because I run these bestseller lists that we send, Lexi pushes out in social media, and we send to a bunch of our retail partners that say, "Here are the best-selling books." And I'm constantly messaging you going, "No, there you go. You got, like, 3 books on the bestseller list again last week." And one of your books is about writing series, secrets,
Hold it up instead of my face so you can see it.
yeah, there it is. Secrets to Writing a Series, which is a perennial bestseller since it's been released. And when did that initially first come out?
Oh, I knew you were gonna ask that. I think
Yeah.
that's it was I think it came out in late 2024.
Yeah. Well, late 2024. Okay, cool. And a comment from Brandy. Brandy says, but you end up with a completed manuscript at the end of your homework. See, that's the kind of homework we can get behind, right?
It's very exciting homework, and so in our courses, we have a very raw kind of community, and
Yeah.
so everybody cheers each other on, and every week we have a Monday check-in with how did it go, what's your goals, what are you doing, did you make it, what do you need, kind of thing, and
Wow.
the goal of our courses is that at the end of every course, you actually have something done on your manuscript,
Right.
and you know what to do over the next week. Now, you can obviously take more time if you need it. There's no penalty if you don't do your homework.
Yes.
But we give a really clear process on these are the things to do to actually get your novel written, not that one that it's taking forever. And we've a lot of writers who, and it's a very common story of it, I've been working on this thing for 10 years. Yes, well, come here and finish it, and we'll show you how. And
I
people
love that.
actually really do it. And then they show up, they come into the community and they highlight their books and they share that it's now up and published and available. And so it's exciting.
So I guess the when it comes to the community, so I'm trying to pop it up. There it is. I kept clicking the button and it kept popping up and going back down, probably multi-clicking. So they can go to fictionary.circle.so and join the community. Now, is there a cost to joining the community?
No, anybody can come in and join.
Okay.
And inside the community, we have different programs at different levels. So we have a Write Your Novel program where we have 3 courses in it. It's outline your novel, write your novel, and then edit your novel. And then we also have a Write Your Series program, which is outline your series, which is what we're talking about today, then
Mhm.
outline a book within your series, then fill in your genre, fantasy, romance, mystery, etc. So we have courses specific to the genre. Then it's write your book in the series, and then it's edit, and then revise. And so
I
it's a
love
much
that.
longer program. That one takes a year. The Write Your Novel takes 6 months, and the Write Your Series, which gets you one fully written book within your series, plus a fully outlined series in a year.
Wow, I love that. That is so fantastic. So I've got to get in there. So talking about writing a series, let's talk about your. I'm going to take it back to Christina's fiction writing experience. So Descent was written
Mhm.
when you first published that book. Did you know it was going to be a series?
Yeah, I had pretty much I had 3 books written. Then I got an agent out of Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
And then she said, your 3rd book is really your 1st book. So you have some rewrites to do. So I literally had to go off. And that's really hard, right?
Right.
Because now you got to keep track of everything in order and then go back.
Right.
So, that was a challenge. And that's when I started my whole great big spreadsheet thing of, how am I going to do this? I committed. Now I got to do it.
Right.
And, and that's what started Fictionary. But like many writers, I really wanted to write a book. And then when I wrote one, I thought, oh, I just really want to write another book. So I think when I wrote it, I didn't know I was writing one book.
Yeah.
But then it just, I kind of got captured by it and kept going.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Now I'm gonna intersperse with questions as they come up. And so one of the first questions specifically about, I guess, the programs and the courses and all that is, Guillaume asks, do you accept all genres of fiction? I mean, you can bring whatever genre you're writing, or
Yeah.
is it catered to specific mysteries and things like that?
So we focus on commercial fiction.
Okay.
That's our thing. And so,
Commercial meaning stuff that people enjoy.
selling fiction. What commercial fiction is really, it's all the fiction that follows some kind of structural pattern. So a mystery, you solve who committed the mystery.
Right.
I mean, who committed the crime, right?
Yeah.
A romance, there's a happily ever after. A thriller, there's a big unknown and we don't really know what we're chasing, but that's what's happening here is a thriller. Fantasy, there's some kind of supernatural or magic. And in the end, that is used to actually reach the goal in the climax. So it's all about novels that have a pattern and follow a structure. And it follows the story arc and it follows the 5 key scenes that have been around since the beginning of time. And I mean the beginning of time, like when people, beginning of people storytelling, that we
even cave people in the, the telling stories.
They might not have had a story arc, but when stories started being repeated, and you go as far as back as Beowulf, right, or Gilgamesh, that you can pull out the 5 story arc scenes. They are there, and what's changed is the style of writing around the story arc scenes. That's different, right? We didn't used to have point of view. We didn't used to have first person. We used to have way more description than we have now. And so that changes with your time. You got to write in your time.
Yes. Yeah.
The actual structure of a story has not changed. And that's no secret. Like, it's just a thing that's out there that I think all writers should know about if you want to sell commercial fiction.
I love that. Thank you so much. I have to pop up some other comments along the way before I lose track of them as they scroll off the screen as well. So Magalina, Magalin?
Magali.
Oh, thank you. Says having a guided roadmap to get you to the end of a draft or manuscript helps tons. So that's obviously somebody who's experienced with the program, right?
Yeah. So Magali is in our community.
Excellent.
What she's talking about there is we kind of give guideposts of this is what goes in a story. And if you know those guideposts, even if you're a pantser,
right,
it makes it much easier to write your story because for example, I'll just go back to a murder mystery because it's a very clear example. So in your inciting incident, there's a crime. There just is. That's a murder mystery. I should say mystery. So maybe it's not a murder. It's a theft or whatever. So you have a crime. And then in plot point 1, the protagonist accepts the story goal. So an amateur sleuth, a detective, doesn't matter. That character is going to solve the crime. And at the end of the story, that's where they solve it. So in plot point 1, they accept the goal of I'm going to find that criminal and they're going to pay. And in the climax, they find that criminal and make them pay. And that's as much as you need to outline. That's part of the story arc, not the whole thing. But if you have that, everything you write, is going toward that goal, everything. And you're really focused and it just makes it easier.
I love that. That is so fantastic. Thank you. I'm gonna keep drilling through some of the comments as we move forward. So Ghost Crayon says, I learned so much from Kristina's books. I'm a rabid cheerleader for them as well. So very exciting.
What she's talking about is the books I've written so far. And I want to mention I've written with co-authors. So Linda O'Donnell, Lisa Taylor, and Lucy Cook. So we have Secrets to Editing Success, which is all about editing. Secrets to Outlining a Novel, which gives you the process to outline. Secrets to Writing a Romance, obvious. Secrets to Writing a Fantasy. Secrets to Writing a Mystery. And Secrets to Writing a Series. And then the next one coming out is with Linda O'Donnell, Secrets to Writing a Novel. And then the next one after that is Secrets to Writing Subplots with Lisa Taylor. So clearly I love co-authors for my nonfiction.
Oh, yeah. Well, because again, you each people have their own specialties and you can play off one another in a positive way.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of research to do these books. And so, we're reading hundreds of books to look for the ones that we want to analyze and pull out, okay, this is what a good story arc scene is. And this is why in fantasy, there's certain patterns. Like in a fantasy novel, if you go and look at all the big winners out there that really sell, the protagonist is unconscious, either in the climax scene or right after. Everyone. Really? And when I first read Twilight, I thought, how how can that be? She's the protagonist. She can't be unconscious in this scene, right? And then look at Fourth Wing, and there's Violet, and off she goes. And so it's really interesting that when you go, and so we read a lot of books and look for the patterns of what's actually happening in a commercially successful novel. And when you see those patterns, it's really eye-opening and exciting. And so then, of course, that's what we put in our book. So it takes us about a year to get to, to go through the research and outline it and figure out what we want to say. And then the writing's not that hard because we have it all together, and then we write it. But it's the actual lead up to it that takes a long time.
I love that as well. So I want to show this comment from Magdalena. Sorry, Magali, I'm sorry. My apologies. I just I'll blame my contacts. It's hard to read the smaller print. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who says highly recommended the books, learned so much about the importance of a story structure, got all the Fictionary books. So this kind of leads to sort of a question, is that some people learn better from reading a book, like digesting it. Other people learn better from courses, whether they take them in person or online or whatever. But this is sort of a combination, because you have the content in the books, but you also have the course, which isn't just the course and the homework and the instruction, but it's the community. So you also get that.
Yes.
What do you call it? Like you have accountability partners, maybe?
You have accountability. I believe to really learn a deep subject like how to write a novel, you need lots of ways to look at it so you can see it in different moments. And so in the school, what we've done is we've combined. So we have live courses. We don't record them so that people feel safe. They can we talk about their actual manuscript in them. Then we have recorded theory that they can just watch on the side on their own time.
Right.
Then we have the Fictionary software, which is a tool to actually do everything in one place. And then we have the books. And so we're trying to come at it from all different angles so that you're going to find the way that you like to learn. But the thing is, in the live courses, people really shine because they can talk about, I'm stuck on my plot point 1. This is what I'm trying to do. And we can look at it and go, oh, well, how about these things? And then they run away and do those things and they're totally happy. And then their book is better.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. All right, I'm going to dig into some of the questions from our audience here. So Layla says, is there overlap for structuring a story and structuring a series? Are there aspects to structuring a series that are unique from just writing an extended multi-part story?
Yes. So if you're writing a series of books, first you have the biggest decision you have to make is, are you writing an open series or a closed series? So before you even start your series, this is really key. So
okay, hang on, I'm taking notes. Okay.
You should take notes if you're going to do this. So an open series means that there are multiple single books within a series that have something in common. So Bridgerton is a great example. Okay. It's a series that takes place in Regency, England. And as all the protagonists in each book are somebody from the Bridgerton family. So that's the series. Each book is an individual story. So you read that, you could then read book 5 about one of the other siblings. You don't need to read 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. And so when you do that kind of series, you're structuring individual books, and then they have something in common that makes them a series. So you're either going to do that, or you're going to write a closed series like The Hunger Games. There's 3 books. And here's the key to structuring a closed series. You're going to have a story arc for each book. So book 1, book 2, book 3, or however many books you're going to have. And then you're going to have a story arc across the entire series. So if we look at The Hunger Games, Katniss, okay, I'm going to spoiler alert. I'm going to spoiler alert. So,
well, come on, they've been around for a while.
I'm going to spoiler alert if you don't know this story yet. But I like to use it because, 1, it's famous. A lot of people know it. And 2, it's structurally a thing of beauty. So when you look at book 1, Katniss's goal is to not die. So in book 1, you can read book 1 and you could be done. And you think, she succeeded in her goal. She didn't die. Great.
Oh, you spoiled the ending.
I know. She lived. So that's book 1. But in book 1, she gets her series goal, which is she's got to take down the capital, or everybody in the districts lives a life of horror, right? Fate worse than death. So her series goal is to become the leader of the revolution and take down the Capitol. So you need to know that. So you know in book 1, she survives. Okay. Book 2, her goal is basically to save Peeta, her love interest, because she thinks he should be the leader of the revolution. However,
Okay.
he's not. And then by the end of book 2, disaster hits. Peeta's been taken by the Capitol. Her home district 12 has been destroyed, and she's now in, I don't know, district 11 or something. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is. So that in book 3, her goal becomes take down the Capitol. And so when you're writing books within a closed series, you need to know what's the end goal, so that every book, when you structure each book, you know the stakes rise each time. First it's just Katniss, then it's Katniss and Peeta, then it's Katniss and everybody, right? Across the entire series. And you can do really fun things in an open series like Bridgerton. In the meet cute, because romance scene of her books, the love interests meet at a ball in a different way with a different dramatic thing going on, but they meet at a ball. That's her pattern across the series.
Right.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk. I want to talk about series goal, because sometimes it happens that there's a series goal, and then after the 3rd book or after the 5th book or the 6th or whatever it was, whatever that structure was, the main character's goal is achieved. Yep. Is it possible for a series to have a secondary series goal? Because, okay, now I've solved this mystery, and maybe we can think of that in terms of series like the X-Files, or like long-running series where there's this long goal that's never ever solved, apparently.
Yes.
But sometimes they do, and then some new thing happens. Is that something that can be added on if an author, for example, is like, wow, they keep driving money up to my house, I'm gonna just write another book in this series, right?
And you can see it when series do that. So there's several ways to do it. So X-Files would be an open series because you can watch one episode at a time.
Yeah.
There is a lingering thing, but you don't really need it to enjoy an episode.
Right.
So what authors do often, they set out to write 3 books. And if you're a new author, I suggest doing 3. It's super popular. You can see the structure. It's not such a huge task that, you start with 12 books. That's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's your first series, pick 3, go with 3. It's easy to structure. It's clear. So you put that out, and then your readers love you, and you need more books. So you can do a spin-off on the characters, right?
Yeah.
You could do a different, so the same protagonist, but then there's some other major problem. And so now they've got to focus on that problem. So you have another 3-book series that comes out of it. People do prequels sometimes.
Okay.
When something's really popular, then they go back and write the prequel because people want more of what happened to them before they actually became who they were. Like, who was Katniss before Katniss? Which I'm pretty sure she has a prequel out, and then I just forget the name, but it's there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about that.
Has a prequel, right? The story as well, which recently landed in movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you can totally do that. And so my advice is, don't worry about that now. Like, if you're just starting out, write a 3-book series. If it's spectacular, by then you're going to figure out, okay, what could you do next?
Right.
Maybe after 3 books, you're tired of that and you want to do something else. So go do something else. That's okay too. You might find that, wow, I'm writing romance, but I really want to write romantasy.
Right.
For example, right? You could switch, or I kind of want to write romantic thrillers or something. It gives you, if you don't start too big at the beginning, it gives you a way to then exit gracefully to do something else.
Yeah, you don't have to wait till book 12 is done.
Right. You're committed to book 12. Your reader wants to have book 12, and you got to do it. I think that's a lot of books.
Awesome. Oh, cool. All right. Okay, so we have another question from the community here. And actually, I have to say, so Alyssa, aka Ghost Crayon, says, I love it when community members show up in an event. It feels like it's proof of a really good community.
Thank you. Thank you. I just popped it out in the community 20 minutes ago. I'm like, oh, for anybody who's around, I'm over at Drafted Digital Live at 1.
There you go. But that's, again, and this is a community. We do have a lot of folks who return every week and engage with one another as well as our guests. But okay, so speaking of questions from the community, Barbara says, how do you know how much of book 1 to include in book 2 to set the story for the reader. So, for example, I call it the story so far. You get that in serialized TV shows where you kind of get those teasers, right? How do you know?
Oh, it's so good. I love this question because it's based on structure. Here's how you know. Okay, I'm spoiler alert again. We're going to look at Divergent series.
Okay.
Right?
Again, not new.
Not new, right? But okay. So Tris, the main character in book 1, in plot point 1 of book 1, plot point 2, where she's at her lowest of her low. And this is typically, you look around plot point 2 for stuff to put in book 2, because this is what is forming your character as the series goes on. And their character growth is coming from this. So in plot point 2, it's really low. Her mother dies in front of her. She shoots one of her best friends and kills him because he's trying to kill her. And she gets shot. Okay, that's bad, right? Book 2, and you can look at this as an example. You can just go look at the free sample for book 2 in the series. And in book 2, it opens up with the protagonist Tris in prison. And in like 3 sentences, mother died, friend shot, she's been shot. It doesn't give you any background around it, but it's enough to know she's got a lot of baggage she's carrying forward and what she's lost. And so that's all you need. So, and the beauty of it, like, this is a really great example, because if you haven't read book 1, let's say you're in an airport and you walk through and there's book 2 and you pick it up because there's nothing else and you read that book, you still know enough from book 1 to know, all right, these bad things happen, I can read forward. And not so much if I've already read book 1 that I know all this. I just read book 1. I don't want to read it all over again. I just want a quick reminder. And so if you look to your story arc scenes, these are the big turning points in your book 1. That's where your backstory is. And you pull that out and you put it in quickly in book 2. And then the same for book 3 and 4 and so on.
Oh, wow. I love that. Thank you. That is amazing. Okay. So, I kind of derailed you initially by starting off with a bunch of questions, but was there something sort of foundational that we should have started with? Just like, I wrote a book, it's going to be a series. Whoops. What do I have to do now? So where do we need to go back and say, okay, Mark, we really should have started with this topic here. Is there a particular thing that we know, that we've already missed?
Yeah. So when you start, you need a story idea. Right. And it may seem really obvious, but you need to kind of know what you're writing. Are you writing a murder mystery? Are you writing a fantasy? What are you writing? So you need to know your story idea. Now, this can change and often does, right? You start out and you start writing, and then even if you've plotted everything out, there's discovery writer in all of us, and you write away and you think, oh, no, it's better. This is better over here. I'm going to put this in. And you have to go back and change, and that's part of the process. So don't worry about that. But when you start, you need to know, what is your series about? And then you decide, is it open? In which case, if it's an open series, that means you're writing multiple books, could be the same protagonist, different protagonists, but they have a theme in common. And so if you look at, you need, I would say, an idea for 3 books. And if you have that, you can then go, okay, I've got enough that I can actually keep going and write a series. And so I'm going to write a murder mystery where the protagonist is a golf pro at a resort, and that's the character who solves the murder every golf season. That it could be as simple as that. This is what I'm going to write about, and these are my stories.
Right.
There's lots of murder mysteries where it's the detective or an amateur sleuth in the same town or the same precinct or whatever. That's the common thing, but different story. Okay. On the closed series, you want to know what each book is about in your series. So book 1, Katniss has to live. Book 2, she's going to try and save Peeta. Book 3, she takes down the Capitol. Because then you're framed on either open or closed. You're framed, and everything you do, you're not going to spend a whole bunch of time, read a whole book and go, oh, it doesn't belong in my series. Which would be sad.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm gonna pop back to some questions from the community here. So Milan says, thinking of making my newly published first book into a series. Nice. Why a magical girl finds she's a witch, and after being taught by a powerful wizard, looks to many adventures. Or is this field too repetitive?
Okay, no. So here's the thing. This is a great question too. So if we put this up here and I challenged everybody on the call, go write this book, it's going to be different, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It'll just be different. I could give you the 5 story arc scenes for this book, and everybody's going to write a different book.
Well, actually, as a matter of fact, a friend of mine is writing this book right now. And again, it's just a generic principle, but how does everyone tell the story differently, right?
It's your own voice that comes out. And even the people who read your book are going to take away different things from your book because they bring their own history. It's like when you walk into a room with your partner in a party, you see different things than that person sees.
Yeah.
Because you're a different person. And people love these books. So it doesn't matter that there's lots of other books out. People find their genre. They love it. They're looking for more continually. Like, where is the next book? Because we love to binge read.
Yes.
You know, people are, and you can get a book at 3 seconds on the Kindle, right? So there's my book. Off you go. So, you know, it's more important to write what you love because you spend a lot of time with your book.
Yeah.
Than to try and write to the market, which will change. There'll be something out next year and we'll all go, oh, I wish I'd written that because it's super popular. But nobody knows what that is. So write what you love.
I could not agree with you more. I mean, the other thing too is there is no guarantee at all that books are going to do well or whatever. It's a huge market. Yes, once a reader finds something they love, they're going to want to read as many of those kinds of things as they want, which is why chains are popular. You know, you can go to a Starbucks almost anywhere and get the same flavored coffee, or for us Canadians, Tim Hortons. You know, you get a Timmy's coffee and you know it's going to taste the same. And it's going to be a slightly different experience because of the layout of the store, whatever, but you want that taste. And I think readers really want a certain taste and they're happy to just keep having that taste. So we're going to get Kristina's version of this thriller. We're going to get Mark's version of the thriller. We're going to get Melina's version. I love that. I want to pause for a second as well, because we're talking about series and I have some stats because I run the annual, you know, industry report stuff for Draft to Digital. And I was just looking at it just before we came live. And when I looked at 2025, our sales from all the places that Draft to Digital distributes to, so the retailers and the libraries and the subscription services, which would be Everend and Kobo Plus, for example, in 2025, because we have the full year of data, 73.6% of all of our selling titles came from a series. Now that's from both fiction and nonfiction. Now fiction is hotter in terms of series, but there are nonfiction books like Your Secrets to Writing series, right? So those are nonfiction books that are all linked in series, and you can read them in any order. And it's always been hot. I think I said before I looked at the stats, I said it's somewhere in the 70% realm, because in 2024 that number was 71.3%. So it seems like people binged more in 2025 or does that seem to be accurate, right?
Yeah, I think people love series and you know, every generation growing up, there's a generation of readers in there and writers in there that are the next people coming up who continue to read. And series are beautiful.
All right, so back to another question from our live. I love the interaction, by the way, with these questions and everyone helping each other out and answering questions and stuff like that. And so Linda says, so are cliffhangers good or bad? Like in a series, so it ends as like, oh no, I don't know what happens. How would
tell you exactly how to deal with that, because the answer is yes and no. It can be terrible if you leave a cliffhanger that's too big.
Okay.
Then the reader's frustrated. It's not fair to the reader. But you can leave cliffhangers that lead to the next book, right? So if we'll go back to Hunger Games.
Yes.
And it comes back to when you write a book, you need to know who's your protagonist, what's their goal, and what's at stake if they don't reach that goal. So who's your protagonist? Katniss. What's her goal? To live. What's at stake? Well, she's dead if she doesn't live. Okay, obvious life and death stakes. But the key is on the back of your book, you make a promise to the reader. This story is about Katniss trying to survive the Hunger Games, right? In the climax scene, you must answer that question. Did she survive or not?
Right.
If you left it as a cliffhanger of we don't know, too big. That was the whole question of the book. You have to answer the story goal. That's a
Ah,
promise to the reader. In a romance, you have to show the happily ever after moment, or it's a
yeah,
love story, it's not a romance, right?
yeah, yeah,
Promise
yeah.
that, you have to show it. It can't be a cliffhanger of did they get together or not. In a murder mystery, you have to show the protagonist catching the criminal because the reader expects that. If you don't, it's too big.
Oh yeah, that's a 1 star.
Right, right. So you have to know what that one book is about,
Right,
and then in the series, so you leave something open for this series. So, in Fourth Wing, she leaves open the romance of,
right.
Violet and Xaden. Well, she loves him but doesn't trust him, so they can't be together. That's okay because she's answered, uh, basically, it's the same goal. Violet wants to survive the
Yes.
her school, right? That's the same goal. So cliffhangers, well, what's going to happen in the romance story? But that wasn't the main story in this book. The promise was Violet, and does she survive the Writer's Quadrant or not?
Right, okay.
And so it's answering the story goal, yes or no. Did they achieve it or not? And then the rest, your subplots, become your hooks to the next book in the series.
No, I love that, thank you. I think that's so critical. Yeah, you have to address the question you set up. You have to answer it and give them what you promised the reader.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean you can't introduce something new that they have to now solve.
Right, which
And
you
so
can, you should in
yeah,
a series. I like
yeah,
often you'll be like, somebody ran into the room and look what happened. You're like, oh,
yeah.
we'll get the next book to see what that story is.
So yeah, and I want to, for example, I'll go back to season 4 of The Lincoln Lawyer just aired recently, and in season 3, that whole thing was wrapped up. The court, everything was solved. The bad guys were found guilty and caught, and all the things
Yep.
happened. And then the very last scene is a scene that sets up season 4.
Okay. And what did
And
you do
you
there,
solve
Mark?
the problem, but then they introduced a new, like, uh-oh, what happened now? Why is Mickey getting arrested? Like that kind of thing, right?
And what did you just do there? Oh, you had a trilogy, season 1, season 2, season 3, story over, start next season, new
Yeah.
trilogy. There you
Yeah.
go.
There
It
you
was
go. Yeah.
here. You just said it.
Yeah, and it's that, what did you call it? You called it the series goal. So it was like the series within. What do you call a series within a series goal? Like when it's not a single book, but it's multiple books.
It's your series goal.
Okay, so it's a series goal can change and can pivot because they've solved this problem, but now they have to figure out the next thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just saying like Dungeon Crawler Carl. So okay, we got to this level. Now we got these whole other adventures to have.
Oh, there's something new.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Alyssa asked this question because you mentioned this, and yeah, and everyone's eyes, I imagine, did the exact same thing that Alyssa did. You said, "Wait a second, say more about love story versus romance." And so I ran into this with some readers from my Canadian Werewolf series, where I have Michael's in love with Gail, who's his best friend, and they used to be together, blah 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 blah. And there's this love story in it, but I would never dare call it a romance because I don't guarantee that people will be together at the end.
Yes.
Right? It's an ongoing Peter Parker loser can't keep a girlfriend kind of story. And so whenever someone says they call it a romance, I'm like, no, please don't call it that, because romance readers will read it and go, no.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
what's the difference between romance and
So
a love
it's
story?
very, very specific. And this is it's from what readers demand. And so if you break this rule, it tends to the book will get poor reviews. So when people read a romance, they're expecting the love interests to have a happily ever after moment, whatever that is. It could be holding hands. It could be getting married. It could be white picket fence and 3 children. It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
It's whatever it means for that story. But that couple ends up together. That's a romance. You could write the same story, but one of the love interests dies. Not a romance. They don't end up together. That's called a love story, right? So all the way through, it's generally the same type of story. If we look at The Notebook, they both die in the end. That's a love story.
It's a love story. Yeah, yeah. Or tearjerker, also known as tearjerker. Is that right?
Tearjerker love stories are typically tearjerkers because somebody dies or they break up or the love interests do not end up together. love story,
Yeah.
romance, end up together. That's all you need to know.
What about
But
something
how you
like,
market, right? It's I just
yeah,
want to say about how you market your book. So if you
okay,
write a story where they end up together, you can market it as a romance. If they
right.
don't end up together, you can't, or you'll just the
Yeah.
reviews will be bad and then your heart breaks. It's not nice.
Well, because you're setting people up for one expectation, and you're like, I want to read this because I want to see them get together. I
Yes.
want to see the challenges. I want to see how they overcome them, and
Yeah,
all of the try fails and all those things. That is
exactly that.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, and so Brandy says, yeah, people mistake Romeo and Juliet as a romance. It's not a romance. It's a love story. So thank you for that, Brandy. Uh, love that as well. And then, so question, and then again, going back to topic, the Hunger Games. It's I Bande. My apologies if I got that wrong. But the Romance in Hunger Games book one is left in a cliffhanger. It's not the main goal of winning the games, though it is addressed and successful, right? Because there's a
Correct.
love story there, but it's what's that?
It's a subplot basically, right?
Right,
And
yeah,
so the main story is Katniss has to survive the Hunger Games, and then there's Peeta, right?
yeah,
And it's actually a secondary plot, which means it's written from Katniss's point of view. So when you have a main character and they have the main storyline, that's their goal. They can have a secondary plot, and her secondary plot is a romance with Peeta. If that had been written from Peeta's point of view, it's considered a subplot. So it's a
right,
different character who's running that story arc, not the main protagonist.
gotcha.
So very subtle difference. And you only need to know that as a writer, not as an author. Anybody reading it doesn't actually care,
Okay,
but you as the writer do on how you're controlling it. But it's quite often a secondary plot or a subplot is used for the cliffhanger in a series. Because
awesome. Thank
the reader will accept it.
Yeah, cool. So Authortunities puts up some homework for us. I'm going to turn this into homework. Authortunity says Romeo and Juliet would be a romance if they became zombies and we are reunited, right? So that's my challenge to you. Rewrite Romeo and Juliet, the zombie version where they actually get together at the end and have
Yes,
a wonderful brain feast or whatever it
yes.
is that they do.
So when you rewrite that, when they die, it's plot point 2. That's
Ah,
their worst moment. They're gonna die in plot point 2, and the reader will know there's more to come because only in plot point 2, right? You still
yes.
have another 25% of your story to go to get to the climax where they have their zombie wedding.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, I love that. And everyone would write a slightly different version of that. So
My version, they're gonna have a zombie wedding.
I love that zombie wedding. There you go. So I want to, as we get close to wrapping up, we just have a few minutes left. So I want to leave this comment about the community. We have a Monday check-in in our Fictionary community, and we all get to encourage each other in our writing goals. Super fun and always kind. I love that so much about writing communities and the support that we get there. So, what else can you tell us about the community and what people can expect there?
Yeah, I mean, the real thing is come if you're serious about writing multiple books. It's a place where we have such a joyful crowd of writers. We have trained editors to ask questions to, so you can ask really hard questions about the plot and structure and characters, whatever, and trained people will answer them. We our biggest thing, our main value is kindness.
Oh, I
And
love that.
that's because, well, 2 reasons. 1, I believe when we are treated kindly, we are happier and we can be more creative and we're going to write better books. And 2, I like to hang out with kind people and it's my community. So I make the rule that everybody has to be kind because I don't know, it just makes life better when people are kind to you. And
Oh,
then, and there's so many hard things about writing a book. And if somebody can show you, here's what you're good at, like, oh, I can do that part. Well, if I can do that part, then I can learn how to do this part too. Right.
yes.
And bit by bit, you can get it done.
Awesome. As Alyssa says, it's my party and I'll kind if I want to.
So
Uh,
there.
you would kind too if it happened to you. Okay. Kristina, thank you so much. Can you please say out loud the URL so we have at the very end where people can find this community?
Yes, it's now I just forgot it. So bad.
It's on the screen. It's on the screen.
Fictionary.circle.so.
Awesome.
I was thinking, wait, which my one for my software, the one for the community.
So that's the kind community, fictionary.circle.so, and fictionary.co is where you can find Fictionary in general.
Yes.
Kristina, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you can hang out in the green room for a few minutes so we can have some green M&Ms and red M&Ms and all the fun Smarties, Canadian candy in my green room, by the way. And I want to thank you for coming here and thank the community for your wonderful comments. So if you want to catch more awesome guests like Kristina and enjoy these weekly events that we do, like, share, comment, subscribe. That helps other people discover this amazing resource that we put out every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern. Be sure to bookmark d2dlive.com so you don't miss out on fantastic conversations like we just had today. You can also, if you have not done your self-publishing journey, you can sign up for a free account over at draft2digital.com. Kristina, thanks again for hanging out with me, and thank you guys in the community for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Love the fun interaction and all the questions. That was so awesome.
Oh, awesome. So now I got to try and find the button where I can stop the stream, and there'll be a little bit of a word about one of the products that we offer. And thank you guys again so much.
Ebooks are great, but there's just something about having your words in print. Something you can hold in your hands, put on a shelf, sign for a reader. That's why we created D2D Print, a print-on-demand service that was built for you. We have free, beautiful templates to give your book a pro look, and we can even convert your ebook cover into a full wraparound cover for print. So many options for you and your books. And you can get started right now at draft2digital.com.